good, so good. Want to take a minute and just celebrate those baptisms because that's pretty amazing. 69 people getting baptized. That is so great. And if you were one of the people who took a step, I just want to tell you, man, we celebrate you. We honor you. The best is yet to come for you because following Jesus is the best thing ever. And can we just give them another just round of applause, man? We celebrate you. Really, truly, just honored just to be in the journey with you and want to help serve you in taking steps and following Jesus. That's what a church is all about. Well, we're in a series that we've called The Mountain, and mountains are great. They're amazing to look at. They're beautiful. They're tall. They're incredible. They are on every screensaver ever known to man because they're so pretty, right? They're just amazing to look at, but they're also intimidating. And the point that I've been making in the series is that when you see a mountain, it's kind of like it's daunting, it's jagged, it's going to take a lot to get to. And a friend of mine named Brandon, he was hearing me dog on mountains, and he's a mountain guy. So he's like, let me show you what being on top of a mountain is like. And so he sent me this picture on Facebook, kind of tagged me in this picture, and he's like, look at this, look how great it is. I'm smiling. It's amazing, Scott. Stop dogging mountains. And I'm like, well, yeah, it looks great right there because that's where you are. But when I see a mountain, I don't see that. I see this right here. I see the journey. And I'm just like, this is not going to be fun, all right? This is going to be work. This is going to be striving. This is going to be straining. This is going to be a lot of effort just to try to get to the top of this mountain. And it's so fitting that Jesus, in his first sermon ever, does it on a mountainside because he's talking about faith. And it's interesting because when we look at faith, a lot of people look at like this striving and straining. It's this grueling process and like, oh, faith, and we have to get to the top of it. And Jesus actually, he flips it upside down. He says it's actually not about you trying to get to God. It's not about you striving and straining and working to get to God. It's actually about God doing the heavy lifting and God literally, ultimately at the end of his life, climbing a mountain, a hill called Calvary, so that you and I could experience all the goodness and the grace and the mercy and the kindness and the joy of God. He flips religion on its head. And what he does is he says, faith in God isn't striving and straining. It doesn't look like Sauron or Mount Doom or Mordor. It actually looks like a word called blessed. All right, everybody say blessed. All right, let's try that one more time with enthusiasm. All right, class, everybody say blessed. There we go, nice and strong. Turn to the person next to you and say blessed. Blessed, I'm blessed. You can't say without smiling. It literally means happy, the word. And Jesus says blessed. Blessed are those who find God. That's the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. It says blessed are the people who find God. Happy is the person, fortunate. It's like that person won the lottery. And he says that's the person who finds God. Now, a lot of times, especially in Jesus' day, we were like, no, not happy the person who finds God. You're happy if you can stay out of God's way. That's when you really are happy because God isn't out to help you. He's out to hurt you. In fact, Old Testament, there was lots of indications where God opened up the ground and people would just die, people get struck down. And so the people in Jesus' day are kind of like, no, you stay away from God, stay off his naughty list because he's going to take you out. And Jesus is like, no. Actually, happy is the person who finds God. That's the Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus is going to be breaking this down for us, and he's going to show us how we experience God. And it's not because of our goodness, it's because of his. Here's the big idea. If you're taking notes, write this down, all right? It's this. We don't experience God because of our goodness. We get to experience God because of his goodness. That was a great spot for an amen, all right? Try that one more time. We don't experience God because of our goodness. We get to experience God because of his goodness. Amen is right. Yeah, that's incredible. And it's all made possible through Jesus. The goodness and the grace and the mercy and the majesty and the power, the mountain of God is available not by us trying to attain it, but because of his goodness and grace made available through Jesus. That's the big idea, all right? So we're unpacking that in this series. The Sermon on the Mount is found in Matthew chapter 5. It's also found in Luke chapter 6 and different versions of it. Luke includes a little bit less than Matthew. Matthew gives us the expanded version. So we're looking at Matthew. Week 1, we talked about this. It starts with being poor in spirit. The person who finds God isn't the person who proves himself, but the person who realizes they don't have anything to bring to the table but empty pockets. that's the person who finds God. So that's how the poor are rich. The people who realize they don't have anything are the people who find the thing that they're looking for. All right? And so then last week we talked about how the weak are strong. And Jesus gives us this amazing vision of life change and how God wants to use us to impact the world for the kingdom of God. He wants us to be salt and light. He wants us to be fresh and bright to a world that needs him, that longs for him. And it doesn't happen by us shouting. It actually happens by us serving. So the weak are strong. And you can go online if you missed any of those messages, summitparkchurch.com, and catch up. But today I want to talk about the big thing, the most important thing, the thing that matters, because that's what Jesus is going to get to now in the Sermon on the Mount. He's going to be focused on the most important thing, the thing that really matters, because there are things that matter, and then there's the most important thing. And Jesus gives us the most important thing. And I was reminded of this yesterday when my 5-year-old, Titus, came home from a soccer game. I wasn't able to go to the game, so I asked him, hey, how'd it go? And he was like, it went all right. And he goes, we lost 6-5. And I was like, well, that's cool that you're taking score because you're not supposed to keep score at these games, right? But good job, son, just like I taught you. He's like, well, we lost. And I was like, oh, it's too bad. I was like, then I asked the next question, which I thought was the most important question. Did you score a goal? Like, hey. He's like, yeah, just one. I was like, dude, that is amazing. You scored a goal? Come here, give me a high five. He's like, it's not even that important, Dad. I was like, what's going on? Some self-esteem. Like, I need to encourage him, whatever. He goes, it's not even the most important thing, Dad. Most important thing is winning. Team didn't get a win, so it doesn't matter. I was like, you've been watching too much ESPN in the household when your kid's breaking down a soccer match like that. It's like a team win. All right. Jesus gives us the most important thing right here. And it all has to do with getting to the heart of the issue, getting to the heart of the matter. Because what would happen is, and it's a section that Jesus has, it's called, you have heard it said, but I say to you. It's like you've heard, and what Jesus will do is he'll refer to an Old Testament command. He say, you've heard, this was the command, this was the line, but I say to you, and what Jesus does is he ups the ante. He actually goes past the line. He goes further. He goes deeper because Jesus is always interested in so much more than rules. He's interested in relationship. And what Jesus says, what you guys have a tendency to do is you have a tendency to make life about a line, and then you'll get right up close to the line, but you miss the point. And anybody who has siblings and has been on a road trip knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because when you're on a road trip with siblings, I had 3 younger sisters, and I knew what my role in life was. It was to prepare them for life, for the future. So I had to put them through boot camp, all right? I had to make life hard on them, and I did my job, all right? So on a road trip, you basically, your parents would be like, you're on that side, you're on that side, And you'd be like, here's the line. And so, it's like, your stuff's on my line. Your stuff's over, get it over there. Everybody has done this, right? And so as the older brother, I'd get right close to the line, and I'd just be all up in their face and be like, that whole, immature brother thing. And how many I may have technically been not over the line, but I was missing the point. And this is what Jesus keys in on this section of the Sermon on the Mount. He says, you're really good at watching the line, but you're missing the point. Because I didn't come to just change your behavior. I came to change your heart. See, real change, God change, Jesus change happens from the inside out. It happens when God changes our heart. This is the upside down kingdom. This is how religion is on its head. It's not about externals. It's about actually letting God in and changing our heart. So that's what Jesus is going to talk about. We're going to look at that here in just a second. Now, we all want to change our behavior. Let me just ask you this. How many of you have a bad habit? You've had a bad habit. You have a bad habit. A lot of perfect people not willing to just be honest in church. But bad habits, you could be like, oh, too much fast food, or biting my nails, or picking your nose. There's bad habits. And then there's character issues, are much more significant. There's, anger, there's gossip, lying, lust, selfishness. Jesus, the Bible, calls these things sin. And it's working against our original intent. Whenever we sin, we're working against our original intent. Because God didn't make us to sin. He didn't make us to sin. He made us to experience life. He made us to walk with him. And especially those of you who've begun following Jesus recently, you've realized all of a sudden, like, stuff you were cool with doing, like 5 weeks ago, 2 months ago, a half year ago, you're like, I don't know why, but I don't like doing that stuff anymore. And I don't feel right about it. It's not because anybody's making you feel bad. It's because the Spirit of God is saying, yeah, that's not pleasing to me. I want to work that out. There's this spirit change that's happening. It's very interesting what happens. You're like, I was totally cool, but I'm not cool with that. And what happens for a lot of Christians and a lot of Christianity is when that begins, that spirit work from the inside out starts happening, what we try to do is make the change happen on our own. We try to force it. We try to push it through. We try to, like I like to call it, grip it and rip it, all right? It's kind of like, I'm going to change and I'm going to be better and it's going to be awesome. Praise God. And I'm going to try to be a Christian, but a Christian is not something you try to be. It's something you are because of relationship. And the Spirit works in you, and he works inside of you, and he brings the work of God up. And this is what Jesus keys in on Matthew chapter 15. This isn't Sermon on the Mount, but this is the heart of what he's trying to say. You honor me with your lips, and yet your hearts are far from me. And who's he talking to? He's talking to Pharisees, right? Pharisees were these people who were really good at making rules. He said, here's the rule. They would find like a rule, and then they'd make like another like circle of rules around it so they wouldn't break that rule. So there's like a buffer zone, all right? Like the sin buffer zone. Then they'd make another series of rules around that, another buffer zone. And so they were so focused on fixing or guarding the rule and not compromising the rule that they missed the point of it. And he says, you honor me with your lips. You say all the right things. You're technically doing the right things, but your heart isn't in it. You're focusing on the externals. This is human nature, isn't it? It's what we do. We focus on the externals. We're really good at this. And every magazine you walk by in a grocery store, and every magazine, what's it talking about? It's like, how to look better, how to lose fat, how to get great abs. Or at least one ab, like how to get an ab, like we'll try to get, it was focused on that. Everything's about externals. Okay, and look no further than social media, right? Your social media page. Because how many like when you're like taking a picture, you'll have those, sometimes you'll take a picture and it's kind of like in between, like you're one eye's half closed or whatever, and you're like taking looking like that. How many that's not your profile pic right now? If we're all just being honest, you just say, delete, let's retry that one, you right? Okay? Girls, come on, talk to me. The angle's right. You got to get the angle right. It's like, where's the background? There it is. That's so natural. I want to make sure I'm getting it all out there, right? I'm making sure you're seeing me for how I want to be seen. We're really good at this. Our culture obsesses about it. And I'm guilty of this as well. Like if you came over to my house, like, hey Scott, can I come over to your house? I'd be like, that's awesome. Let's hang out. But I'm gonna need about 6 hours to get things straightened up, before you see the real me. I'm gonna need a little bit of time because I have 3 kids, all right? And there is stuff everywhere. I don't know where it came from. I don't even know what it is, but it's everywhere. And so I'm going to need some time to get my stuff together. I mean, there's like, Nerf darts like stuck in the lamps and, like the light. I mean, it's just everywhere. I'm going to need some time to get myself presentable. And then once you come over, you can go anywhere except the closet and the guest bedroom because that's where I just threw everything, right? And that's how we are. We want to present ourselves, our most authentic self. Let me just clean myself up a little bit. Jesus says this. I want to get into the closet in the guest bedroom. That's what I want to do. I want to clean you. I want to heal you. I want to bring life to you from the inside out. And I don't want you to worry about your appearance. I want you to worry about me and allowing me to change you from the inside out. Because this is how life works. We live life from the inside out. Look what Proverbs chapter 4 says. It says, above everything else, guard your heart. And I love this version of it. It says, it is where your life comes from. It's where your life comes from. We live from the inside out. Now, Solomon wrote this way before Jesus came on the scene. And so people would try this. They would I would try to fix my heart. But here's the thing. Before Jesus, there was no way to fix your heart. There was no way to fix your heart. Jesus gives us the way. He gives us the truth. He gives us the life. He makes that verse possible. And this is what he's come to do. This is the Sermon on the Mount. This is religion on its head. And what Jesus is going to do in this passage, in this section, he's going to focus on 3 examples of how we know we're applying this and how we know we're doing well at this, or if we're not, if we're missing the mark on this, if we're falling short. He's going to give us 3 things. He's going to talk about anger. He's going to talk about lust. And he's going to talk about honesty or dishonesty. He's going to talk about 3 things. Let me just take a little survey. Let's all be honest here. How many of you have ever been guilty of one of those things in your life? All right, just raise your hand, okay? All right, we're getting honest here, okay? How many? Put your hands down. How many of you have been guilty of one of those things this week? Just raise your hand this week, all right? How many on the way to church you struggle with one of those things, okay? We're getting real, getting real. This is for all of us today. It's for everybody. None of us are perfect, and so this is for you, all right? So why don't you turn to the person next to you, give them a little just pep talk and say, hey, this talk is for you today, all right? Just tell them real quick, this talk is for you. And it's for me too, all right? It's for me too. The first thing Jesus is going to key in on is anger. It's not getting what you want. See, anger is not getting what you want. This happens from a real early age, doesn't it? Look no further than the nursery, our room 1 here at Summit Park Church. And I have a little 4-month-old, just cute, little sweet little baby, Eden June, just the princess of our household. She is so just sweet and cute and perfect, except when she's not. And if you take that passy away, or you just when she doesn't get what she wants, you can just tell. There have been moments just out of nowhere, she'll just go, we're like, oh my gosh. What is inside of you, And this is just in us. It's human nature. It's fallen nature. And so then it continues on to toddlers. You really see this in toddlers. Have you ever been in Walmart and your toddler's legs just stop working? Just completely stop working. You're like, thank you. It's very convenient of you to do that right now. Not getting what we want, and we get angry because of it. This continues on to today. And this is what Jesus focuses on. Look, Matthew chapter 5, verse 21. You heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. Okay, this is the line. He's going to say, you have heard it said, this is the line, but I tell you, and he goes further, he goes deeper. Look what he says. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Rakah, everybody say Rakah. Rakah is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, everybody say, you fool. It's just fun to say that. Will be in danger of fire of hell. Well, what's he talking about here? Seriously, Jesus? Murder is one thing. Obviously that's a no-no. But anger? Jesus is like, yeah, that's what I'm concerned with. And so let me define this term rakah. It was a term of disdain. And growing up in Detroit, 313 represent, 8 Mile, Eminem, thug life right here. I define it. I don't know why that's so hard to believe. But we would say, okay, what an idiot. We'd say the person's an idiot. Gosh, what an idiot. We'd say that. And then I moved to Springfield. I realized they had a different term for this. They wouldn't say what an idiot. They'd say, bless his heart. That's what they would say. And I just thought people in Springfield were nice. I just thought I was like, really? And then I found out bless his heart really means I'm going to cut him. That's what I found out it means. I was like, oh, we're all thugs. Good. All right, that's good. Jesus is saying this term rakah. It's this term. The reason they don't translate it is because it doesn't make sense to us. Literally, it means a nothing. It means a nothing. It's like the most powerful term of disdain and diminishment of value for somebody. It's like, I'm just looking down at you. I'm looking down at you. I'm basically taking your value away as a person. And so Jesus is saying, you may not be guilty of murder, but anytime you look down on someone, anytime you diminish someone's value, anytime you think you're better than someone, every time you have that moment of jealousy, when you see someone and you're like, oh, they have that, and all of a sudden you're going to cut them out, right? You're going to say something that just cuts them down so they can get, anytime you do that, it's rakah. And he says, when you do that, you may not technically be crossing the line of murder, but you've already missed the point because your heart is becoming corrupted. This is what Jesus wants to get at. This is what he wants to fix. This is what he came to heal. He came to heal our hearts. And it's stealing the life that God has for you. Anytime we give into any of these things that I'm going to talk about, it's stealing the life that God has for you. God didn't intend for us to give into these types of sin issues. He didn't make us like that. He doesn't want us to experience that. He came that we might have abundant life, real and eternal life. All of this stuff steals it away. It pulls away from that. And we worship these things instead of worshiping the only thing that really matters. When I was in India on a mission trip one time, there was this, we were staying in a hotel, and they had a closet, and they had like this idol set up in a closet. I'd never seen it before. Like I'd heard about, I'd heard about this type of stuff, but I'd never seen it. And so I watched people go in and walk into the closet and bow down and spend some time in front of the idol before they'd go about their day. It was incredible to me because I had never seen anything like it. And I really think what Jesus is saying is like when we allow bitterness and hate and prejudice into our heart, we're worshiping these things instead of worshiping the thing that matters. And we're allowing it to control us. We won't go certain places. We won't do certain things because our anger, our hate, our prejudice is controlling us. And Jesus says, you may not be murdering, but you're guilty of hate. And this is what I came to fix. Look at his action step. Look what he says. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and then remember your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First, go be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. He says this, you being right with people and not having hate with people is so important that I would rather you go fix that than come to church. I want you to come to church. You need church. You need to come worship. But before you do, don't come with a heart that's full of hate and animosity and prejudice. You need to fix, you need to get right with people and then bring that to God. I'm saying that's what I've come to heal. That's what I'm after. I'm after that. So that's an action step. Look what Hebrews 12 says. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God and that no bitter root, everybody say root. No bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. It says bitterness, hate, prejudice, it starts as a root, and as soon as you see that little seedling, you need to pull it out. You need to just pluck that root right out. My dad had gardens growing up all over our house. We lived on a corner lot, and literally from the front all the way around the side, there was like a variety of gardens. I mean, he had Japanese gardens, he had bonsai gardens, he had rose gardens, he had all kinds of flowers. I mean, it was just way over the top. And he had 4 employees to look after these gardens. It was me and my 3 sisters, all right? That was our job. And literally, it was a daily job to get up, to get up in the morning and just go around, because there were always weeds. Every day there was a new weed that was popping up. Every day. And if you went, right, like every day fresh in the morning, just go, like, the dirt there is just, it's amazing. It's just perfect, and you just pull it right out. It just come right out. But if you're like, no, I'm not going to mess with that. I'll get that later, and I'm going to go on with the rest of my day. then, in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week goes by. All of a sudden, it was so easy. Now you'd have to get a little hand shovel. You let that thing go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now you're going to need a full-size shovel because that thing's becoming a tree. And Jesus is saying, and it's a violent, you're going to have to pickaxe that thing. You have to take that thing out. You're going to be suffocating the life around it. You're going to be killing the flowers around it. This is what Jesus is saying. When you allow that bitterness, when you allow that hate, when you allow that stuff inside of you, you may not be guilty of murder. You may not have actually killed anybody, but it's killing the life of God in your heart. He says, I don't want you to do that. Take that thing, pull it out. That's the action step. But Jesus is going to give us something even better than an action step. He's going to give us the answer. I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. But let me grab the second thing. The second thing is lust. Anger is not getting what we want. Lust is wanting what we shouldn't get. It's wanting what's not made for us. It's wanting something that someone else has or is, and it's inappropriate for us. It's not what God made us for. And anytime you desire that thing, you're beginning to lust. Jesus, he drills down on that. He says in verse 27, you have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. This is crazy. This is intense, right? This is okay, adultery we get. That's the line. We all understand that as a society. Once you cross that, you have crossed the line. You've broken the relationship. And Jesus is like, no. I'm gonna up that. Once you've lusted at someone, once you've looked after someone and you said, oh, I really want that, that's where adultery happens. So in our society, this is how it plays out, right? It's like, okay, well, I won't have an affair, but I'll just look at porn. She's like, no, you're looking at porn, and that is the lust. That's just as bad. It's in your heart. This is where the desires are. This is what matters. Be like, well, I wouldn't look at porn. Some of you be like, I'd never look at porn. But you'll look at other images of women. You'll be like, you justify and say, well, it's not porn. Yes, it is. It's your heart. Or you'll be like, well, I wouldn't do that, but I'll just look at every person who walks by with lustful intent. Jesus says, this is the desire that matters. This is what I came to heal. This is what I want to fix. Or for ladies, this would be like, oh, okay, yes, the line is having an affair. But at work, you'll have a relationship where you get real close with someone, you're sharing deep, intimate secrets with them, you're letting your heart gravitate towards them, and you'd be like, oh, at least it's not that. Jesus is like, no, this is the thing that matters. Your desires matter. Your heart matters because this is where life comes from. This is what I've come to fix. Stop focusing just on this. Let me into the closet. Let me in to the inner parts of your heart. So what's the action step? Jesus says, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. You're like, whew, Jesus is a little aggressive. Come on now. He's exaggerating to make a point. But look what he says. For it is better to lose one of your members than your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than your whole body go into hell. He's making the point that whatever that thing is that is causing you to stumble, if you can get rid of it, you should get rid of it. For some of you, it's the internet, You're like, I need to put filters on this. I need to be careful. I need to have accountability on this because the internet is taking me down a path that I do not want to go, that my heart is not meant to go. So you need to put filters on it. For some, maybe it's social media. Social media is taking you place. Get rid of Facebook, get rid of Instagram, whatever. Get rid of Snapchat, do what that's ungodly, all right? It's like, get rid of whatever's causing you to stumble. Get rid of it. It's that work relationship. It's that thing you'd be like, man, what's my job? And Jesus is like, yeah, what's bigger than your job? Your soul. The condition of your heart. This is what I've come to fix. This is what I've come to heal. So his action step is get rid of it. But he gives us more than an action step. He gives us an answer. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. The last thing is honesty or dishonesty, which is being authentic about what we want. Being authentic about what we want. Jesus says, verse 33, again, you heard it said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform to the Lord what you have sworn. So the command was, you shall not swear falsely, taking the Lord's name in vain. You should not swear in the Lord and then not do it. But I say to you, do not take an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And do not take an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. Let what you say be simply yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil. So in Jesus' day, what religious people were doing, they were differentiating what they would say they would swear to do. So they were making a promise, they were making a commitment to say, okay, I promise to do this, and I swear on Jerusalem, and that means something, but swearing on this podium doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to swear on this podium, and that means I might do it. Jesus is like, are you kidding me? You have levels of honesty? That's not honesty. That's not being true. And really what this is right here, Jesus is summarizing the Sermon on the Mount right here in this statement. He's saying, don't let there be two versions of you. Let there be one version of you, the same person. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. I've come for integrity. Jesus comes to make you whole. That word integer means that's where the root word integrity comes from. Jesus came to make us real, authentic. We have a big move in society, a big desire in society just to be real. I'm just going to be real. I'm just going to be honest. But then we're not very honest because we paint ourselves to be something that we're not. Jesus says, let what you present be who you are. And this is the person who understands God. This is the person who's healed by God. This is the person who changed the world. This is why we don't need Botox Christianity. We've talked about that before, where it's like, injections of fakeness that you come into church. How's everything going? Oh, it's going great. Praise the Lord. Oh, great. Thank you, Jesus. And then we walk out, and it's like completely corrupt hearts. That doesn't make a difference in the world. That doesn't bring hope and light. That doesn't change anything. It's just as bad as the world is. Jesus says, I've come to make you different. I've come to make you whole. But how do we do this? What's the answer? Jesus gives it to us. Mark chapter 12. When asked what the greatest commandment is, Jesus says this: love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. He says, you know what the greatest thing you need to do? The most important thing you need to do? The thing that really matters is not doing something, but doing the right thing. Just look at this for a second. See what Jesus does? He takes all of the commands, what were the commands? Do not steal, do not lie, do not commit adultery. He takes all of the commands that were negative and he brings it around and he says, positive, I want you to do the one thing that will heal your heart and bring life to others. It's loving God. Loving God. With all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength, letting the drive and the passion and the substance of your life be about Jesus and what he's done for you and who he is, and being driven by that, not out of duty, not out of religion, but out of relationship. Because you realize how good God is and how much he loves you. You say, God, I want to love you and I want to serve you. And you spend your energies doing that, all of a sudden, it's so much easier not to be angry. It's the solution for anger. It's the solution for prejudice. It's the solution for racism. It's the solution for hate. Jesus. Filling your heart with his love. It's really hard to be mad at someone when they do something to you, when you start thinking about Jesus and what he's done for you in spite of you not deserving it, isn't it? It's like, oh, this person didn't. Oh, well, that's right. You love me. God, I love you. So you fill your heart with the love of God. You worship God. You seek God. Someone does something to you, you're like, it's okay. I'm going to forgive. I'm going to let go. I'm going to love. I'm going to be salt and light. How can you be salt and light? By being changed. By being changed. Lust. What's the answer for lust? It's not trying not to lust. You will lose that battle again and again. That's why you're losing it. But what you need to feel, Jesus gives us an action step, but what he does is he gives us a better solution. It's not filling your heart with lust, it's filling your heart with the love of God. When that temptation comes, when that image, pops up, is like, oh, look at this. Take a moment, worship Jesus. Watch the healing and the victory and the grace that comes into your life in that moment. Say, Jesus, I love you. I serve you. My life is about you. It's not about that. That is not going to bring life to me. You bring life to me. All of a sudden, it's like, it's amazing. It is incredible. This is what God made us for. Loving him, serving him. Honesty, dishonesty. The moment you go to fill out your taxes, which if you haven't done that, you're late, by the way, public service announcement. But you go to fill out your taxes, and you're like, oh, you know what? I want to. You say, you know what? I'm not living for this world. I'm not living for money. I'm not living for stuff. I'm not living for people's opinion. I'm living for you and your opinion. I love you. God, you are my passion. You see how there's power in that? Do you see how that's different than religion? It's completely opposite because it's what God made us for. He didn't make us to perform. He made us to be in relationship. That's the mountain. That's what Jesus came to bring. That's religion on its head, and that's what's available for us. And it's way better. It's way better.